What's crack-a-lackin'? It's been a while. I visited Iceland and had a lot of fun there. So I did not record any of these, but I'm back. And let's jump right into it. It's Thursday, November 9th, 12:40. Good afternoon. We're going to start with a quote as usual and then go into analyzing an article that I found. I thought would be cool to go through. So the quote for today is: "The greatness of a person is not in how much wealth they acquire, but in their integrity and their ability to affect those around them positively." Now, who might have said that? Bob Marley. There we go. So yeah, it's how can you affect those around you positively? He definitely lived up to his aspirations, I guess. Anyway, today's article is from the FS blog. I think it's Farnham Street. They have all sorts of cool articles about clear thinking, decision making, philosophy, and just how to live a sick life. And this article is entitled "The Munger Operating System." So Charlie Munger, the guy who is the co-founder, I guess, or the co-chair of Berkshire Hathaway. So he hangs out with what's his name? The guy from Omaha. Fuck, I blanked out. The richest, almost the richest guy on planet Earth. I'm just gonna Google it right now. Sorry about this. Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah. So it was Warren Buffett. There we go. Oof, that's silly on my part, but I hope you enjoyed and you thought at least 10 times, this stupid motherfucker. You should have known. Well, anyway, out of this being out of the way, let's jump into the article. So yeah, basically the operating system of a guy who's made a lot of money and potentially, hopefully, this will help you. So the article goes: in 2007, Charlie Munger gave the commencement address at USC Law School, opening his speech by asking, "Well, no doubt many of you are wondering why the speaker is so old. Well, the answer is obvious. He hasn't died yet." Okay. Fortunately for us, Munger has kept on ticking. The commencement speech is an excellent response to the big question: how do we live a life that really works? It has so many of Munger's core ideas that we think the speech represents the Munger operating system for life. To get what you want, deserve what you want. Trust, success, and admiration are earned. And here's a quote from the speech: "It's such a simple idea. It's the golden rule, so to speak. You want to deliver the world that you would buy if you were on the other end. There is no ethos, in my opinion, that is better for any lawyer or any other person to have. By and large, the people who have this ethos win in life, and they don't win just money, not just honors. They win the respect, the deserved trust of the people they deal with, and there is huge pleasure in life to be obtained from getting deserved trust." Yeah, agreed. Learn to love and admire the right people, alive and dead. Here's another quote: "A second idea I got very early was that there is no love that's so right as admiration based love, and that love should include the instructive dead." Whoa, what? Instructive dead. Okay, somehow I got that idea and I lived with it all my life, and it's been very, very useful to me. Admiration based love. I don't really get what he means by that. Just, yeah, I guess love, admire. Um, Acquiring wisdom is a moral duty as well as a practical one. Okay, there's another quote. And there is a corollary to that proposition, which is very important. It means that you're hooked for lifetime learning. And without lifetime learning, you people are not going to do very well. You're not going to get very far in life based on what you already know. You're going to advance in life by what you're going to learn after you leave here. If civilization can progress only when it invents the method of invention, you can progress only when you learn the method of learning. Yes. You know what? Like, I find it surprising that a lot of people still have this idea that they're gonna get out of high school, go to college, get a job, and then like they feel so entitled that they know their shit. Like this is it. They know they just need to execute. They need to operate. And in this little, I think I'm in a. Oh yeah, I am in a bubble. Like I guess the tech startup bubble where it's people are kind of grinding, always trying to find the next frontier. But the more I hang out, just I guess in normal life, with people, friends, not friends, people at the bar, and chat with them, so many people are judgmental and not curious. And this comes from, I guess, entitlement and thinking that they already know everything they need to know. And it's time for them to make decisions on what they see in front of them versus being curious about the actual meaning of whatever surrounds them. Then again, not everyone has time to be curious, I guess. No, that's not true. Lifetime learning. Be hooked on that, I guess. Anyway, attain fluency on the big multidisciplinary ideas of the world and use them regularly. Regularly. All right, what does that mean? Here's a quote from Charlie. What I noted since the really big ideas what I noted since the really big ideas carry because shit this like these are quotes that are taking out of context, so sometimes I'm like lost what I'm but anyway, what I noted since the really big ideas carry 95% of the freight, it wasn't at all hard for me to pick up all the big ideas from all the big disciplines and make them a standard part of my mental routines. Once you have the ideas, of course, they are no good if you don't practice. If you don't practice, you lose it. So I went through life constantly practicing this model of the multidisciplinary approach. Well, I can't tell you what that's done for me. It's made life more fun. It's made me more constructive. It's made me more helpful to others. It's made me enormously rich. You name it. That attitude really helps. Now, there are dangers there because it works so well. And if you do it, you will frequently find you are sitting in the presence of some other expert, maybe even an expert that's superior to you, supervising you. And you will know more than he does about his own specialty, a lot more. You will see the correct answer when he's missed it. It doesn't help you just to know them, just to give you, so you can give them back on the exam and get an A. You have to learn the things in such a way that you are in a mental lattice work in your head and you automatically use them for the rest of your life. Okay, so just, I guess, don't zone in on just one thing. Try to learn about geography, politics, science, psychology, microeconomics, right? Okay. Learn to think through problems backwards as well as forward. Okay, the way complex adaptive systems work and the way mental constructs work, problems frequently get easier, and I would even say usually are easier to solve if you turn around in reverse. In other words, if you want to help India, the question you should ask is not how can I help India? You should think what's doing the worst damage to India? What would automatically do the worst damage and how would I avoid it? You'd think they are logically the same thing, but they're not. Those of you who have mastered algebra know that inversion frequently will solve problems which nothing else will solve. And in life, unless you're more gifted than Einstein, inversion will help you solve problems that you can't solve in other ways. Okay, I think I need to. Do you get it? Because I think I do, but how can I help India? No, we should say what's doing the worst damage to India. Reverse thinking. I hope he could maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna Google a few examples because I'm not sure I get this yet. Dummy. All right, be reliable. Unreliability can cancel out the other virtues. Agreed. So if you're unreliable, it doesn't matter what your virtues are. You are going to crater immediately. So doing what you have faithfully engaged to do should be an automatic part of your conduct. You want to avoid sloth and unreliability. Yeah. Pick up the phone next time I call you, bitch. Avoid intense ideologies. Always consider the other side as carefully as your own. Yeah. No dogma. Okay, what does he say here? Another thing I think should be avoided is extremely intense ideology because it cabbages up one's mind. You've seen that. You see a lot of it on TV. You know preachers, for instance, they've all got different ideas about theology, and a lot of them have minds that are made of cabbage. But that can happen with political ideology. And if you're young, it's easy to drift into loyalties. And when you announce that you are a loyal member and you start shouting the orthodox ideology out when you're doing what you're doing is pouring it in, and you're gradually ruining your mind. So you want to be very careful with this ideology. It's a big danger. In my mind, I have a little example I use whenever I think about ideology, and it's the Scandinavian canoeists who succeeded in taming all the rapids of Scandinavia, and they thought they would tackle the whirlpools in the Grand Rapids here in the United States. The death rate was 100%. Oh shit. A big whirlpool is not something you want to go into and think. I think the same is true about a really deep ideology. I have what I call an iron prescription that helps me keep sane when I naturally drift toward preferring one ideology over another. And that is, I say, I'm not entitled to have an opinion on this subject unless I can state the arguments against my proposition better than people who are supporting it. I think that only when I reach the stage I am qualified to speak. Oof, that's a very high bar. Now, you can say that's too much of an iron discipline. Yeah, I just said that. It's not too much of an iron discipline. It's not even that hard to do. All right, Charlie, I'll take your word for it. Um, get rid of self serving bias, envy, resentment, and self pity. Ooh, preach, bro. Generally speaking, envy, resentment, revenge, and self pity are disastrous models of thought. Self pity gets pretty close to paranoia, and paranoia is one of the very hardest things to reverse. You don't want to drift into self pity. You have a friend who carried a big stack of index cards about his stick, and when somebody would make a comment that reflected self-pity, he would take, oh sorry, I have a friend who carried a big stack of index cards about this stick and about this stick. So this stick, oof, sorry, that was really bad on my side, just reading that out. So thick stack of index cards. When somebody would make a comment that reflected self-pity, he would take out one of the cards, take the top one of the stack and hand it to the person, and the card said, "Your story has touched my heart. Never have I heard of anyone with as many misfortunes as you." Well, what? Well, you can say that's waggery. What does that mean? Waggery. Droll behavior, characteristic. Wag. Okay. Yeah, jest. But I suggest that every time you find you're drifting into self pity, I don't care what the cause. Your child could be dying of cancer. I think his child was dying of cancer, actually. Self pity is not doing to improve the situation. Just give yourself one of those cards. Yeah, just, I guess put it on your phone screensaver. Your story has touched my heart. Never have I heard of anyone with as many misfortunes as you. Not. Yeah, like life is hard for everyone. Move on. No need for self pity. It's a ridiculous way to behave, and when you avoid, so back to the article, right? It's a ridiculous way to behave, and when you avoid it, you get a great advantage over everybody else, almost everybody else, because self pity is a standard condition, and yet you can train yourself out of it. And of course, self serving bias, you want to get out of that out of yourself, thinking that what's good for you is good for the wider civilization, and rationalizing all these ridiculous conclusions based on our subconscious tendency to serve oneself. At the same time, allow for the self-serving bias in others who haven't removed it yet. Ooh, allow for it. Okay, what do you mean by that, Charlie? You also have to allow for the self-serving bias of everybody else, because most people are not going to remove it all that successfully, the human condition being what it is. If you don't allow for self-serving bias in your conduct, again, you're a fool. I watched the brilliant Harvard Law School trained general counsel of Solomon lose his career, and what he did was when the CEO became aware that some underling had done something wrong, the general counsel said, "Gee, We don't have any legal duty to report this, but I think it's what we should do. It's our moral duty. Of course, the general counsel was totally correct, but of course didn't work. It was a very unpleasant thing for the CEO to do, and he put it off and put it off, and of course everything eroded into a major scandal, and down went the CEO and the general counsel with him. Hmm. The correct answer in situations like that was given by Ben Franklin. He said, if you want to persuade, appeal to intent, not to reason. The self serving bias is so extreme. If the general counsel had said, look, this is going to erupt, it's something that will destroy you, take away your money, and take away your status, it's a perfect disaster, it would have worked. Okay, so yeah, focus on the self-serving bias of other people, I guess. Because yeah, like if you just talk about duty and morals, people won't care. But if you show them how shit affects them, because we're all selfish, we're gonna act upon it. Avoid being part of a system with perverse incentives. Okay, incentives are not too powerful. Sorry, incentives are too powerful a controller of human condition and human behavior. And one of the things you are going to find in some modern law firms is billable hour quotas. I could not have lived under a billable hour quota of 24,000 hours a year. That would have caused serious problems for me. I wouldn't have done it, and I don't have a solution for you for that. You have to figure it out for yourself, but it's a significant problem. Okay, so basically he's saying like perverse, yeah, avoid being part of a system of perverse incentives. Like if you're billing by the hour, you're incentivized to stretch your hours, right? Anyway, work with and under people you admire, and avoid the inverse when at all possible. Okay. And here's a quote from Charlie, and that requires some talent. The way I solved that is I figured out the people I did admire, and I maneuvered cleverly without criticizing anybody. So I was working entirely under people I admired. And a lot of law firms will permit that if you're shrewd enough to work it out. And your outcome in life will be a way more satisfactory. Will be way more satisfactory and way better if you work under people you really admire. The alternative is not a good idea. Fucking A. Yeah, I mean, I could speak volumes about my personal experience, but yeah, even if it means you're gonna get paid less or the topic you're gonna be working on might be slightly less interesting or exciting, work with and for people who you admire, who are exciting, who are just great, who will make you a better person. Yeah, here's my wisdom, right? Learn to maintain your objectivity, especially when it's hardest. Well, going back to Charlie. Well, we all remember that Darwin paid special attention to disconfirming evidence, particularly when it disconfirmed something he believed and loved. Well, objectivity maintenance routines are totally required in life if you're going to be a correct thinker. And there we were talking about Darwin's attitude, his special attention to disconfirming evidence, and also the checklist routines. Checklist routines avoid a lot of errors. You should have all this elementary wisdom, and then you should go through and have a checklist in order to use it. There is no other procedure that will work as well. Well, what's the procedure, right? What's the checklist? But yeah, try to maintain your objectivity, right? Got it. Concentrate experience and power into the hands of the right people, the wise learning machines. Okay. I think in the game of life, in many respects, the game of life, in many respects, is getting a lot of practice into the hands of the people that have the most aptitude to learn and the most tendency to be learning machines. And if you want to want the very highest reaches of human civilization, that's where you have to go. You do not want to choose a brain surgeon for your child among 50 applicants and all of them just take turns during the procedure. You don't want your airplanes designed that way. You don't want your Berkshire Hathaway run that way. You want to get the power to the right people. Sure. You'll be most successful when you're most intensely interested. Okay. Another thing that I found is an intense interest of the subject is indispensable if you're going to excel. I could force myself to be fairly good in a lot of things, but I couldn't be really good in anything where I didn't have an intense interest. So to some extent, you're going to have to follow me. If at all feasible, you want to drift into something that you really have to, yeah, whatever. Learn the all important concept of assiduity. Sit down and do it until it's done. Assiduity, what does that even mean? Great and persistent toil or effort. So yeah, just learn, I guess, about the grind. Could have said it easier. Two partners that I chose for one little phase of my life had the following rule. They created a little design slash build construction team, and they sat down and said, two-man partnership, divide everything equally. Here's the rule. Whenever we are behind in our commitments to other people, we will both work 14 hours a day until we're caught up. Well, needless to say, that firm didn't fail. The people died rich. It's as simple as that. Yeah, you gotta fucking grind. Use setbacks in life as an opportunity to become bigger and better person. Don't wallow. I think it goes back to the whole self-pity thing. Another thing, of course, is life will have terrible blows, horrible blows, unfair blows. Doesn't matter. And some people recover and others don't. And there, I think the attitude of Epictetus is the best. He thought that every mischance in life was an opportunity to behave well. Every mischance in life was an opportunity to learn something. And your duty was not to be submerged in self-pity, but to utilize the terrible blow in a constructive fashion. That is a very good idea. Agreed. The highest reach of civilization is a seamless system of trust among all parties concerned. Give me 1 sec, take a sip of water. Highest reach of civilization, system of trust, right? So the last idea that I want to give you as you go into a profession that frequently, so being a lawyer, right? Because this is the commencement speech to lawyers or prospective lawyers. So anyway, into a profession that frequently puts a lot of pressure and a lot of precautions and a lot of mumbo jumbo into what it does. This is not the highest form of civilization. The highest form civilization can reach. The highest form which civilization can reach is a seamless web of deserved trust. Not much procedure, just totally reliable people correctly trusting each one another. That's the way an operating room works at the Mayo Clinic. If a bunch of lawyers are to introduce a lot of process, the patients would all die. So never forget when you're a lawyer that you may be rewarded for selling this stuff, but you don't have to buy it. In your own life, what you want is a seamless web of deserved trust. And if your proposed marriage contract has 47 pages, my suggestion is do not enter. Yeah, so overall, I think this trust part, like, yeah, you might think everyone is out there to get you and steal from you, but I think looking at life as not a fairy tale, that would be too much, but just, yeah, start with trust. And if someone, screws you over, then you live and learn. Never trust them again, but yeah. And I think actually, funny enough, Charlie and Bob Marley have a lot in common because the quote from Bob Marley that I read at the beginning, the greatest greatness of a person is not how much wealth they acquire, but their integrity and their ability to affect those around them. Squares quiet well. That's it for today. So the Munger operating system, just to reiterate, what was it? Acquire wisdom, learn to love, and admire people, being multidisciplinary, just kind of learn different shit. Learn to think through problems backwards as well as forward. I'm still not entirely clear what that means, but there's a link. Let's kind of just let's press on that, right? I'll do that for you. Charlie Munger on the value of thinking backward and forward. Oh, okay. It's short, so I'll read it out just for you. One of the five simple notions to solve problems is the concept of inversion. To solve problems, we need to look at them both forward and backward. But how does this look in practice? Let me give you an example that Charlie Munger gave during a speech. Munger liked to give his family little puzzles. And one of the puzzles he gave his family was there's an activity in America with one-on-one contests and a national championship. The same person won the championship on two occasions about 65 years apart. Now, I said, name the activity. Any ideas? How would you answer this? In my family, Munger said, not a lot of light bulbs were flashing, except for one. I have a physicist's son who has been trained more in the type of thinking I like, and he immediately got the right answer, and here's the way he reasoned. It can be anything requiring a lot of hand-eye coordination. Nobody 5 years old is going to win a national billiards tournament, much less a national tennis tournament. It just can't be. Then he figured it couldn't be chess, which this physicist plays very well because it's too hard. The complexity of the system, the stamina required are too great. But that led into checkers, and he thought, there's a game where vast experience might guide you to be the best even though you're 85 years of age. And sure enough, this was the right answer. Flipping one's thinking both forward and backward is powerful sort of mental trickery that will help improve your thinking. Okay, I think I got it now. You probably did from the very beginning, but yeah, I'm a dum-dum, so it took me a bit longer. But anyway, be reliable, avoid intense ideologies, right? Dogma, stay open-minded, get rid of self-serving bias, envy, resentment, self-pity, right? This whole thing of like, yo, your story has touched my heart. Never have I been heard of anyone with so many misfortunes as you. Get a fucking grip. Yeah, at the same time, allow self-serving bias. Yeah, so when someone has self-serving bias, just leverage that, I guess, and you can see it, and then like you can use it, right? We're not gonna go through the whole thing in it, but maintain objectivity, hang out with the right people, be intensely interested, be curious, don't wallow. Setbacks in life, it's gonna be fine, right? Highest reaches is trust, and yeah, that's it. Charlie's operating system approved by Tony. Listen to Tony. Bye.